The day began with laughter, sunshine, and the kind of excitement that only a long-awaited family reunion could bring. My parents had rented a sprawling lakeside cabin for the weekend, insisting that every branch of the family attend. Cousins I hadn't seen in years arrived with children, coolers, and endless stories. My husband, Ethan, volunteered to help everyone load the cars before we left. He carried heavy bags, organized supplies, and even made sure my elderly uncle's wheelchair fit comfortably into the van. Looking back now, I realized he was the only person focused on everyone else's happiness, while the rest of us were distracted by our own entertainment. None of us imagined that before sunset we would make a decision that would change the entire family forever. As our convoy stopped at a roadside gas station, nearly 80 miles from the cabin, everyone scattered. Some bought snacks, others stretched their legs, and the children rushed toward the ice cream counter. Ethan quietly walked inside to pay for fuel because my father had forgotten his wallet in the car. While he waited in line, my younger brother jokingly suggested that we should drive off without Ethan for a few minutes just to scare him. The idea sounded ridiculous, but one laugh led to another. My cousins encouraged it. My sister filmed the discussion on her phone, and before common sense could interrupt, engine started. I hesitated for only a second before climbing into the passenger seat. That single moment would haunt me longer than I ever expected. The first few miles were filled with uncontrollable laughter. My brother kept checking the mirrors, convinced Ethan would somehow appear behind us waving his arms. My cousins imagined the confused expression he would wear when he walked outside and found nothing but empty parking spaces. Someone joked that he deserved it because he was too responsible and needed to loosen up. Even I laughed despite the growing discomfort in my stomach. I told myself we would return after 5 minutes. Surely he would understand it was harmless family teasing. None of us noticed that our phones had lost signal as we entered the winding mountain roads, making it impossible for Ethan to reach anyone even if he wanted to. When we finally turned around nearly 40 minutes later, our laughter had faded into uneasy silence. The gas station parking lot was almost empty. Ethan was nowhere to be seen. The cashier said he had waited patiently for over 20 minutes before quietly asking whether there was a nearby bus stop. According to the clerk, he never looked angry. He simply smiled politely, thanked everyone for their help, and walked away carrying only a small backpack. That calm reaction unsettled me more than any argument could have. My brother insisted he was probably being dramatic and had already found another ride. I wanted to believe him, but something inside me whispered that we had crossed a line we couldn't simply laugh away. Hours later we reached the cabin, expecting Ethan to arrive eventually, perhaps with a rental car or a taxi. Instead, the evening passed without a single message. My parents tried calling repeatedly, but every attempt went directly to voicemail. My mother blamed the poor mountain reception, while my father insisted Ethan will forgive us after hearing a sincere apology. I wandered onto the porch overlooking the lake, unable to enjoy the beautiful sunset that everyone else admired. The empty chair beside me felt strangely symbolic. For the first time since we had driven away from the gas station, I stopped defending what we'd done. The silence surrounding Ethan wasn't peaceful. It was deliberate, and somehow that frightened me more than anger ever could. The following morning, everyone tried to pretend the previous day's incident had been nothing more than an unfortunate misunderstanding. My father grilled breakfast on the deck. My cousins played volleyball by the lake, and my mother repeatedly assured everyone that Ethan would eventually arrive with a funny story to tell. Deep inside, however, nobody truly believed that anymore. Around noon, a sleek black SUV slowly rolled into the cabin driveway. Every conversation stopped. Ethan stepped out wearing the same clothes as yesterday, calm, neatly groomed, and carrying himself with surprising confidence. He greeted everyone politely, shook my father's hand, smiled at the children, and acted as though nothing unusual had happened. His composure was so unsettling that even my brother, the architect of the prank, suddenly couldn't look him in the eye. During lunch, Ethan laughed at family stories, complimented the food, and thanked my parents for inviting him. If someone had walked into the cabin at that moment, they would have assumed we were the happiest family in the world. Yet beneath the smiles, tension hung over every conversation. Finally, my mother apologized for what had happened at the gas station, expecting Ethan to laugh it off. Instead, he simply nodded and replied, "I appreciate the apology. I learned something valuable yesterday." Those few words echoed through the dining room. No accusations followed. No shouting erupted. He quietly continued eating, as if nothing more needed to be said. Somehow, his restraint made every guilty conscience in the room feel even heavier. That evening, Ethan invited everyone to gather in the living room after dinner because, he explained, he had prepared a small surprise to celebrate the family reunion. Curious whispers filled the room as he connected his laptop to a large television. The screen lit up with cheerful photographs from previous holidays: Christmas dinners, birthdays, camping trips, and weddings. Everyone smiled as memories flashed across the screen. Then the slideshow changed. Security footage from the gas station appeared. It showed Ethan walking out of the store, carrying drinks for everyone, only to watch every family vehicle disappear down the highway. The room fell completely silent. There was no dramatic music, no editing, no narration, only the unmistakable image of one man standing alone in an empty parking lot. The video continued. Another camera showed Ethan calmly returning inside, thanking the cashier, borrowing a phone that couldn't connect because of poor reception, and then sitting quietly outside for nearly an hour without speaking badly about anyone. Finally, a retired couple noticed him, offered him a ride to the nearest town, and even helped him arrange transportation to the cabin. Before the video ended, the elderly woman looked into the security camera while comforting Ethan and said, "If your own family can laugh while leaving you behind, perhaps they don't understand what family truly means." Her words landed like a hammer. Tears appeared in my mother's eyes, while my father slowly lowered his head without saying a single word. Ethan closed the laptop and looked around the room with remarkable calm. "This wasn't about being stranded," he said softly. "I could solve that problem. What I couldn't solve was realizing how easily the people I trusted convinced themselves that my humiliation was entertainment." Nobody interrupted him. My younger brother attempted to apologize, but Ethan gently raised his hand. An apology means little if nothing changes afterward. Respect isn't measured when life is easy. It's measured by the small decisions people make when they think nobody will remember them. Every sentence felt heavier than the one before. There was no anger in his voice, only disappointment that was impossible to ignore. Then Ethan revealed the final surprise. Weeks earlier, my parents had privately asked him to help organize future family vacations because of his exceptional planning skills. After the gas station incident, he had respectfully declined. Instead, he had arranged an all-expenses-paid weekend retreat for the elderly couple who had helped him, thanking them for their kindness. The reservation confirmation appeared on the television screen. My parents realized that complete strangers had shown Ethan more compassion in 1 hour than our entire family had shown him all afternoon. The contrast was impossible to defend. Nobody spoke. Even the children sensed something important had changed. As darkness settled outside the cabin windows, my father stood up with tears in his eyes. He admitted that he had laughed instead of acting like the head of the family. One by one, everyone accepted responsibility without making excuses. My brother deleted the prank video he had secretly recorded before it could ever be shared online. My sister apologized for encouraging the joke. I finally looked Ethan in the eyes and admitted that my silence had hurt him just as much as everyone else's laughter. He accepted our apologies, but he reminded us that trust is rebuilt through consistent actions, not emotional speeches. Every person in that room understood that earning his confidence again would take time. The drive home 2 days later felt completely different from the journey that had started the reunion. Nobody raced ahead or left anyone behind. Every vehicle stopped together. Every passenger was counted before leaving each rest area, and conversations were noticeably kinder. The story of the harmless prank quietly disappeared from family gatherings, replaced by a lesson no one wanted to repeat. Ethan never sought revenge through anger, humiliation, or revengeful tricks. Instead, he held up a mirror that forced every one of us to confront the people we had become. His response didn't destroy the family. It transformed it. And that silent lesson left the whole family speechless long after the weekend had ended.